Good evening and welcome to Art After Dark, where you get to learn all about arts and culture in West Texas, and I get to live out my Dick Cavett fantasy. Good evening, my name is Randy Ham. I am the Executive Director for Odessa Arts, and this week we are continuing our chat celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Odessa Shakespeare Festival right here at the Globe Theater, talking to cast members from the Texas Shakespeare Festival Roadshow out of Kilgore, Texas. And tonight our guest is Destiny Gore. Destiny,
Hi.
thank you so much for being
Oh my
here.
gosh, thanks for having me, Randy. It's great. I love this.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to start with your origin story.
Yay.
Uh, where were you born, and how did you get from uh, being a toddler to playing on stage at our Globe
We'll
Theater?
do the whole thing.
Yeah,
So I was born and raised in a town called North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It was crazy growing up at the beach, and when you're little, you don't realize how cool it is to grow up
right.
at the
Yeah.
beach until you travel elsewhere and you're like, "Oh my gosh, you people only have lakes. That's crazy." Um,
We
so
don't even have a lake.
No, I know. I'm like
We barely
blown
have
away by the
trees.
desert. It's nuts. Yeah, so I grew up in Myrtle Beach. I had a very supportive family. I'm really close to my mom and my sister and I have a 6-year-old niece named Janelle, and she's my best
Oh,
friend in the whole wide world. I started doing theater when I was really, really young in like music classes and stuff. Like first grade, I was in this is my favorite thing my mom quotes all the time. It's called Oceans of Fun. So anytime she goes to say a bad word, she goes, Oceans of Fun. And it's our favorite bit that we do in our house all the time.
that is awesome. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm I'm stealing that. Tell
Yes,
your
do
mother
it.
I'm gonna. Oh yeah.
Oceans of Fun. She'll love it.
Okay.
I'll tell her about it. And then I became really serious about theater when I got to about 7th grade. I was the understudy for the lion in The Wizard of Oz.
Oh.
And I went on one night and I was off tempo and I couldn't remember any of my lines, but it was the most fun thing I've ever done in my life. And then after that, I just kind of stuck with it. I became a student director in the 8th grade. I was like helping out and assisting with choreography. And then I got to high school. My freshman musical was Shrek.
Ah.
And then I graduated doing High School Musical, and it was incredible. Arts aren't really like a super huge thing in Myrtle Beach, but I got very lucky that I went to a school with an incredible theater program. We performed every year at States, which was really super cool. And then I realized that the community theater scene in Myrtle Beach is a lot bigger than I thought it was once I graduated, which was
Yeah.
super, super cool. Yeah.
It's one thing, especially like you said, the things that you, when you're growing up and you're a child, that you are unaware of that are
Yeah.
around you. Like for example, you said the beach, but also having a robust arts community that you're just
Mhm.
not aware of.
Right.
I had the same thing growing up, in rural West Texas. My mother helped found the community theater, but when I moved here to Odessa, I was one of the people that said there's nothing to do here, that it's
Yeah.
ugly, and that, it's just boring. And it wasn't until I actually started working in the arts that I understood just how vast and robust
Right.
our arts community is. And it's both exciting and frustrating because you want everybody to know. And I always joke, I don't have time to go knock on every door and be
Yeah.
like, look at what we do. Um, but just being able to do things like this and bring arts to people that maybe don't get to have that access all the time has
Yeah.
been incredibly rewarding.
I agree. Just actually finished directing a show before I got here, called Lungs by Duncan McMillan. It was
Mm.
one of my bigger directorial debuts in the community. I was at a small community theater called Dreamhouse Theater in Myrtle Beach, and it was, kind of an off the wall show, kind of a strange
Mhm.
pick for the community. And I found myself like not appalled, but like so removed from the fact that there were so many people who wanted to come see this story but didn't have access to it, couldn't
Yeah.
afford tickets, couldn't like
Mhm.
I found myself I felt like the story was so quintessential for young people to come and see, and people couldn't afford it or they
Yeah.
didn't know what it was or and all of these things. But then I had people who would come see the show and they're like, this is
Yeah.
so incredible and it's so powerful and it's so important to me and who I am. And yeah, I find it crazy that, once you have had the privilege of doing arts in the community, you want everyone to have it because it is such a reflection of us as a human being, and
Right.
it's crazy.
And as a community, and when you do things like that, I always think that uh, finding those adventurous
Mhm.
pieces is is so incredibly important in communities that don't have that same kind of access. And even if you're only performing to 20 people, you are, kind of deputizing them to
Mhm.
go out into the community and say, "Oh, I just saw this great production of this thing and it really spoke to me and I related to it and I saw myself in my community in a way that I've never seen myself in my community
Mhm.
before."
Yeah.
And so it's not always, although I will state it for the record, I am very happy when we have sellout performances.
Of course.
Uh,
Yes.
Sometimes the 20-person, houses are just as important
Mhm.
because those people really made a commitment to be there.
Yeah, and they do, and they'll come out. Those are the people that'll support you for your whole career.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it's true.
That's right. So you directed that.
I did, yes.
So talk a little bit about the difference between when you are acting on stage and when you're directing.
Yeah, I am of the mind that being a actor who directs is super important. Actors have a understanding of the text and of the relationships and the motivations that I think, some people in other fields may not understand. And I think for me personally, it really enhanced the way that I directed and the way that I had this connection with my cast. The cast consisted of two individuals. It was Mike and Savannah Kane. They were married. And we came in and I am not like specifically trained in intimacy or fight choreography. I made sure that we picked a show that didn't have to
Right.
dive into any of that without having a professional in the space. But I felt like so connected to them in a way that I had not in another directing space before. They were so like with me in every rehearsal, and I tend to go on a tangent. I'm a chatty girl.
Guilty.
Yeah, I just love to yap. And I would find myself in rehearsals like going on these deep dark conversations and asking questions that may not have related to what we were talking to, but then they fueled the way that they acted for the rest of the show, and it was so beautiful to witness, and the questions that they had and the journeys that they took. And the play is about these two individuals in their early 30s who are deciding if it's time for them to have a baby and if they
Mhm.
deserve to have a baby. And, these are really super important questions to be asking yourselves. Um, and these two individuals were in that age group, and we would have these long-winded discussions about like, what does this play mean to you? And
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what it means to me. Like, you guys are giving it to the community. I had myself in several rehearsals, like I'd block the whole show and then we'd get 3 weeks in and it'd be like, if it doesn't work, just throw it out. Throw it out. Do
Yeah.
whatever you want. And I think it really created a really tight knit relationship with all three of us that was really beneficial to the art process. Yeah.
That's gotta be great to have collaborators like that,
Hmm.
that you can really work as a team. Because I know, from an acting perspective or a directing perspective, or even from an arts administration perspective,
Yeah.
sometimes you come up with an idea that you are so attached to, that you want to execute so bad,
Yeah.
and it is very hard to give that up in service of the greater good.
Yeah.
Like, it may work for you, but it may not work for the audience, or it may not work for the particular project, and it's just so hard because those ideas, that's what creativity is all about.
Hmm.
And when something comes from you that you want to share with everybody, and you have to kind of put it away and say, maybe now's not the best time,
Yeah.
this is not the project for that,
Yeah.
is really difficult. So it's I think creativity is all about ego and all about
Hmm.
not having ego,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know because I mean, to get up on stage, you want people to look at you, and
You want them to love you.
you want them to
Yeah.
love you.
So bad.
But you also have to give it up in service of something
Yeah.
bigger. Um, so I'm going to continue with some questions. Well, we'll get to musical theater in a minute, but we're going to talk about musical theater.
Okay.
How did you get introduced to Shakespeare?
I actually didn't do my first Shakespeare show until I was a sophomore in college.
Okay,
I was in a production of Romeo and Juliet that my professor Brandon Dawson was directing at the time. He did a workshop because a lot of people in our theater department were not familiar with Shakespeare or had never done it before, and it deterred a lot of people from
sure.
auditioning, which I was in the same boat. I was like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
I think. especially being a woman of color, it
Mhm.
was I've always taught Shakespeare wasn't written for you,
Right.
so don't try it. I had, teachers and professors and people in my life telling me that Shakespeare was for a certain group of people,
Yeah.
and I remember having a discussion with my professor and being like, I don't see myself in these roles and in this community and in this environment." And he just sat me down and was like, "You don't know because you've never done it." And he said, "I promise you that you will be included in the narrative." And I got cast as Lady Capulet. Um, and it was life changing. It was like a weight had been lifted off of my chest. I felt included and I felt seen and I felt like the story I was telling was so important. And it didn't matter if that story was mine or not because that was my job. I was an actor. I needed to tell this story, and slowly but surely it became my story. It became important to me. My best friend, Anthony, played my Lord Capulet, and he is a black man. And we had these discussions all the time of, do we fit here? And Brandon made it very, very clear that we did. And he
Mhm.
made it such a comfortable space. And the language came so much easier because I felt safe in trying things and experimenting with things. And he was so well versed in the language and in the objectives and the actions of the scene. So I fell in love with it. He then encouraged me my senior year of college to audition for the Texas Shakespeare Festival. And he said, just give it a shot, kid. You got a lot
Yeah.
going on right now. So I was like, you know what, whatever. So I remember spending a day, filming, and I was like, whatever, I'm not going to get it. Doesn't matter, whatever. And funnily enough, I was having one of the worst days of my senior year. I was like sitting on the couch of my apartment and I was on the phone with my sister. And I was like, I hate everything. I want to quit. I want to drop out. Like all of these things. Like, and that
Mhm.
happens to you when you're in
Yeah.
college. You're like, God, why am I
It
doing all
happens
this
to you
for? It
in
does.
adult life too.
Yes.
I
Oh my
mean,
gosh.
you just wanna
Just done.
just walk away from everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just go hide in a little hole or something.
Mhm.
And this was one of those days in particular. And I was sitting on the couch and crying on the phone with my sister. And then I got the email from Megan Simpson that said, "Hey, we want you to be a part of our acting company." And I remember I just dropped to my knees and just started bawling. And I was like, okay, it's okay. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was like in that moment, the universe knew that I needed a sign to keep pursuing
Yeah.
acting. And that was it. And I am the luckiest girl alive because Texas Shakespeare Festival has been a dream. And everyone is so kind and friendly. And one thing that I've noticed,
Mhm.
in the submission for Texas Shakes that I've not seen in other submissions is they make you include a section of your audition where you talk about yourself, and it has to be a minute, and you have to reveal a part of your soul to these people that you've not met before. And
Yeah.
I was so relieved by that because I'm a great actor. I'm willing to say that about myself. I've been doing
Mhm.
it for a long time. I hope I'm okay. um but I think I'm also a really good person, I hope.
Mhm.
And I hope that, I can be like a ray of sunshine and a light for people. So the fact that I was able to reveal that to Megan and Matthew, I think really was helpful. It really was. So yeah.
Well, they're smart enough to know that when you are hiring for a job, you're not just hiring an actor, you're hiring a person.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I've said this to many people over the years. Just being a nice person gets you so
So far.
far in life. It really, really does. And
Mm.
media may not teach you that, and some of the plays of Shakespeare may
No.
not teach you that.
Yeah.
But truly and honestly, if you treat people with kindness, if you are
Hmm.
respectful, if you understand what your place in the world is, and what you are there to contribute, and what when you need to step back, and it is not your story to tell,
Yeah.
then people recognize that, and they reward that.
Yeah.
I really truly believe that.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about musical
Let's
theater.
talk about it.
Okay. So, what is one of your most memorable musical theater experiences?
Ooh, that's a fantastic question. Confession time.
Yeah.
The last musical that I did, Kiss Me Kate, this summer, was the first musical I had done in almost 5 years.
Wow.
Um, I got to college and I decided it was not something I was interested in anymore. I love musical theater with all my heart. It was where I got my start. Um, but it was never I singing makes me so nervous, and I, like,
Really?
yeah, I feel like I'm gonna just explode with all this energy when I sing, and it's never consistent, and I like to be able to control what I can do, and,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm having a bad voice day, all bets are
Oh,
off.
yeah.
Yeah, you might not be able to hit that high C. But, I really, really loved High School Musical. I know that's crazy to say.
It's adorable.
It's
Every time
adorable.
you say that during Q&A and the kids light
They
up,
love it.
they love it.
Yeah, it's such a good and it really it holds so many memories for me. It was my senior year of high school and I was becoming an adult and I was
Mhm.
graduating and
Yeah.
we did High School Musical 2 months before I walked and it was like it was the perfect way to say goodbye
Yeah.
to being, I'm gonna be a kid until the day I die. But
Right.
it was like saying goodbye to my youth, and it was with some of my best friends that I had ever made, and it a lot of my very good memories that are with those group of people, and it makes me happy to know that I got to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. That is amazing. Is there a, musical that is on your bucket list?
Yes. I know it's crazy. I would love to do a Moulin Rouge. And I don't even wanna play a
Oh.
role, I just wanna be a
Be
dancer,
part of
and
it.
yeah, I just wanna
Yeah.
be in it. If I'm like a
Yeah.
bartender in the lobby, I would love it more than anything. I just love Moulin Rouge, it's so great. I think the music is fantastic. Yeah,
I love that Moulin Rouge is kind of having another
it
moment
is,
right
yes,
now. Yeah, that's
resurgence.
yeah,
I love
it
it.
really is.
Yeah.
One last question before we wrap up, because I asked Keenan this as well, but you've been on tour for 5 weeks. You've been
Mhm.
doing cafeterias and gymnasiums and
Yeah.
all over the state of Texas, and you get to wrap up your tour right here. What is it like performing here at the Globe?
It's wild. It's insane. I have said this before in our interview that, I grew up in a town where, the arts and theater was not a huge thing and it was not a big deal. So I don't think I like knew about the Globe until I got to college. And, you know, when I found out that we were doing a residency in the Globe, I'm like, oh my gosh, how many people get to say that even if it is a replica, I got to perform on a replica of the Globe at 21, like, and that is
Right.
insane, and
Yeah.
the significance of that and telling my mom, and she's like, "Oh, that's so cool. What does that mean?"
Yeah.
And these, like, really cool moments and these things of something that I think we were talking about the other day is you don't realize that there are these little pockets of the world and of America that are full of life and joy and places you
Yeah.
would have never thought and art. And this is a great example of it. Like, who would have thought that the
Yeah. Who
globe is
knew?
in the
Who
middle
knew?
of Odessa?
Who
And
knew?
it's such an incredible, beautiful space. And to be able to make all these memories here with all of these incredible people I've been on tour with is really, it's beautiful. It's lovely. And the people of Odessa are so kind and so sweet. And the little babies that come and see us make me
Oh,
so happy.
they're
Oh, the
so
babies.
adorable.
Yeah,
They really, really
they
are. And
really are.
I am not exaggerating when I say this is my favorite week of the
Oh.
entire year is to be here, be with all of the cast and see all of these students come into this space and many of them for the first time see live theater. It's really transformative
Mhm.
for them and you can see it,
Yeah,
right?
it
And then
is.
that makes it transformative for me and it makes it transformative for you. And that really I think encapsulates what the power of the arts is.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. I've found, like, so significant, like, yesterday, we did a workshop at the detention center and seeing these people light up, at
Yeah.
something they've never seen before, and people coming up to me while we were in Laredo and being like, "This is my first ever play that I've ever
Yeah.
seen," and awakening this new art and this newfound if you don't even want to become an actor but a new part of your own humanity is unlocked and wanting to be more empathetic and understand people a little bit more and that's all I could ask for
Yeah.
honestly. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking time
Thank
out of
you.
your very, very busy week. We are working you guys so hard this week
Yes.
to do this. It's always very special. So thank you for coming on the
Thank
show.
you.
Join us next time when we continue our celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Texas Shakespeare Festival Roadshow here at the Globe Theater. Good night.